So I saw this video this morning in my feed. It was posted by someone in the Liberalists from Media Matters. It was regarding conversion therapy in the United States. I guess it's still pretty regular practice for people to seek conversion therapy when they have sexual confusion or confusion about their sexuality. And this whole Media Matters thing was all about this activist who, as they termed it, was a survivor of conversion therapy, as opposed to just someone who went through it. And he's trying to get laws passed in all 50 states to make conversion therapy illegal, at least for youth. And I get it. You know, everybody has the right to petition their government. But the Media Matters video kind of framed it. First off, the presenter, the person who was narrating it, sounded like she was giving a high school book report. She had no emotion, no inflection whatsoever. She just read it out as though she didn't even understand what she was saying. But the implication from the Media Matters video was that this practice, this conversion therapy, is evil and it harms LGBTQ youth. And I was watching, I'm like, this is the same people who would advocate for giving prepubescent kids hormone replacement therapy and chemically castrating them for life. And yet they're talking about the harm that psychological counseling might have on a person, a young person, who's struggling with their sexuality. And don't get me wrong, I don't think conversion therapy necessarily works. I don't know what the data is behind it. I imagine sometimes adults might benefit from having psychological counseling if they're having sexual identity or sexuality confusion issues. But I'd never want to pass a law banning parents from seeking the treatment they thought was best for their kids. And I guess it comes down to you're one of two people, right? This young guy who's the center of this Media Matters video was trying to get a law passed in all 50 states. Never mind that, you know, he lives in one state, and what other state people and parents and people in other states are doing are none of his fucking business. But he's trying to get this law passed in all 50 states, basically legislating away the practice of people seeking psychological counseling or having their children seek psychological counseling when they're gender confused or have difficulty with their sexuality. Now, a lot of these conversion therapy places are religious based, right? Christians don't want their kids to grow up to be gay, so sometimes they send their kids to a Christian-focused conversion therapy retreat or weekend session or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. Some would call it a prison. Those who argue against it would call it a prison. But the striking thing to me is that these folks do it unironically. They're like, well, this is harmful to LGBTQ youth. Okay, what about heterosexual youth who are given hormone replacement therapy before they're even teens because one summer they liked dressing up in girls' clothes? And child psychologists the world over have said that most kids who engage in opposite gender play or play of that nature for extended periods eventually outgrow it. They outgrow it by the time they're teens, right? It's something they do when they're young because all kids play pretend and dress up and crap like that. And who knows the reason why they choose specific costumes or identities or whatever, but The point is, most kids outgrow it. Most kids don't suffer from gender dysphoria. But the LGBTQ activists would say, no, those kids are the opposite gender on the inside. That boy's a girl on the inside. That boy was born a girl, born with a girl's soul or a girl's brain. We need to inject them with estrogen and castrate them, making them infertile for the rest of their lives. But I guess it comes down to this kid who's trying to get this law passed in all 50 states. And by the way, he was successful in Hawaii, New Hampshire, and some other state, I can't remember, Delaware, I think. It breaks the world down into basically two types of people. It breaks the world down into people who say, when they see something that bothers them, that doesn't really hurt anyone, will say there ought to be a law. Now, I guess in this case, you could argue that people are being hurt, but the broader application still applies. There are people who will say there ought to be a law, and then there will people who say mind your own fucking business. And I guess it depends on which camp you fall, right? So apparently this kid had gone through conversion therapy and survived it, meaning he came out of his conversion therapy still gay, still gender fluid as the video describes him. And he didn't like it, so he wants to make sure that nobody else has to go through it. Or nobody else, definitionally, has the option of going through it if they wanted to. So, I'm of the camp of mind your own fucking business. Fine, gender or conversion therapy didn't work for this Dan kid. I think his name was Dan something or other. But it didn't work for him. And he found it to be harmful to him, even though he doesn't seem any the worse for wear. He's leading a national bill writing campaign. But he wants to prevent parents from seeking the treatment for their kids that they feel is best. He's saying there ought to be a law and I'm going to write it, by God. And I'm of the camp of, you know what? It's none of your fucking business. Just like it's none of my business that this kid wants to write this bill. It's none of my business that this kid didn't like his conversion therapy. It's none of my business that his parents put him through it. It's also none of my business when a parent decides that little Johnny, who played with his sister's dolls for one summer while his leg was broken, is clearly gender dysphoric and needs hormone replacement therapy. I find it disgusting. I think it's wrong, but I'm not the kid's parent. I can't force them to not do it. I would hope that psychological and child health professionals would be the ones to discourage it, but based on the current paradigm, it seems they're not. But I would never say there ought to be a law banning it. I would, again, call upon the professionals to say, this is a bad practice, we should stop doing it. See, because it's none of my fucking business. And I guess it comes down to, what type of person are you? Are you the type of person who immediately, when they hear something that offends their sensibilities or goes against the grain of their political ideology that they're possessed of? Are you the kind of person to say there ought to be a law? Are you the kind of person who says, it's none of my fucking business, I don't like it, but it's none of my fucking business? I'm the latter. I don't want to be messing in people's lives. I don't want to be telling them what they can and cannot do. I don't want to have laws that affect people's ability to choose for themselves or to choose for their children what the best course of action is. That's just me. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm at work now. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.